Well, let's lighten things up tonight and celebrating more than 27 years of shining the spotlight on local fashion. South African Fashion Week continues to shine as we saw the showcase of the autumn-winter collections over the past 3 days. The Mzansi fashion community brought together the most talented designers to showcase their work. And Lezanne Viviers is one of those who showcased designs on the runway last night. She joins me in studio to talk all things fashion and sustainability in the industry as well. Good evening to you and welcome to News.
Good evening, thank you very much.
My absolute pleasure. So you showcased at South African Fashion Week last night. Talk us through it. How was the evening?
Oh, it was really, really wonderful.
Yes.
We recently showed in Milan, so
Yes.
last night was a re-show of the Milan collection, but it was also elaborated. It's always very nice when you have a second opportunity to do things.
Yes.
You can restyle it, you can relook it. It was really, I think, a great success. We also premiered our fashion film, Retrace, Rememory, Reset, Reculture.
Yes.
So that was the introduction to the show, and then the models came out. So
Beautiful. We'll chat a little bit about the film shortly. But I just want to talk, as a designer, you obviously need to keep recreating and evolving and growing. What goes into designing a collection that you know is going to be showcased on an international platform like Milan Fashion Week, but also here locally in South Africa? How do you conceptualize your designs?
I read a lot.
Same.
I think I've got specific things that I'm always interested in.
Sure.
With this collection specifically, like I did a lot of research on myths and legends about our origin stories as humans, and I specifically looked at different cultures and different religions and how we all kind of have this common thread between our views of our origins, and that common thread is, it always somehow points back to the stars, like we come from above. So this was, for this collection, it was the main inspiration. The colors and the palette, everything was kind of very intergalactic and planetary.
Stunning. So, talking about origins, let's take it back to your start in the fashion industry and where this love and passion and creativity stems from for you.
So to me, it was always between fashion and art.
So you've always been a creative?
Yes. I did sculpture and ceramics when I was in school, and then I studied fashion design. And after I finished my degree, it was in Cape Town in Stellenbosch, I wanted to experience the real South Africa, so I moved to Johannesburg, starting internships.
The real South Africa.
to really have a hands-on experience in ateliers. So I worked for 8 years with Marianne Fassler, and then 5 years ago, I started my own brand. And to me, the starting point was very much to how could I bring my love for art and my love for clothing together, because there's a lot of similarities. At the end of the day, I see clothes really as a tool for communication, and it's got a concept and you execute it with materials and shape and silhouette. So very much the same as an artwork. There's a lot of thought and concept that goes behind something before someone paints.
Sure. And I think that rings really true to your designs, because your designs are really like art pieces, walking art pieces on these beautiful models. And talking about models, you actually brought one in studio for us tonight. So thank you very much for that. Let's just talk through this beautiful piece that Olga, right? Is it Olga?
Yes.
Is wearing tonight.
So Olga's actually wearing one of our signature shapes. So you can see we've got this trapeze deconstructed tailor gilet, and then it's also our signature pants with a little popper detail. So these pants and the jacket together is something that you can change, chop and change.
Yes.
Opening the press studs, closing the press studs.
I see.
We also paired it with a wool knit that's underneath the jacket. And I think this kind of sculptural shape is something that's very much a part of our brand. It's always something, I think it comes from my sculptural background.
Yes, yes.
I love to play with the silhouette. And in terms of fabrication, because that's very, very important for us, is starting with fabric. Where does it come from?
Sure.
So we make use of a lot of reclaimed fabrics, couture fabrics. This is, for example, a vintage watermark taffeta. So it's about 20, 30 years old.
Oh, wow.
And you have all these gems, you know, you don't always have to produce new things all the time.
Sure.
Like you can also use what already exists.
Yes, yes.
And the quality is most of the time much, much better than buying new fabrics as it stands.
I want to expand on that point shortly, the issue of sustainability in fashion. But what I love about your pieces is that they really seem ready to wear. Like you could, as a consumer, you could wear them right off the runway and go into your store and purchase them right away. And I love that because so often, especially on international runways, we see garments that we wouldn't necessarily be able to wear right off the runway. Is that an important aspect for you? The wearability of an item?
I think it always comes down to the styling of a garment. So, for example, with the Milan collection, the styling was very, very different from what we did last night. It's also fun for me to play it and to transform the look just with styling.
Sure.
Our clothes are unisex. So, for example, the look that Olga is wearing tonight was on a male model last night.
Interesting.
So that's very nice for me that, you know, you and your husband or you and your partner can share it.
So let's talk about the issue then of sustainability, specifically in the fashion industry. You just mentioned that the material used here is 30 years old. How important is it for you to ensure that there's recycling and reused materials?
I think, I don't know why it's ingrained in me. It's something like, I think my mum taught me, like, you know, you can't waste things. And from a sustainable point of view, like I always try and think, like, where does something come from? The origin.
Yes.
Origins. I think we've lost a lot of tact. Like, if I ask you, do you know where your garment comes from? Where is it made? What is it made from? Most people can't answer that. So that's very much something that I like to educate our clients and our consumers, is start checking your garments inside. Understand what it's made from. If it says it's polyester versus a beautiful wool or a silk or a mohair, understand what the difference is and understand what that fabric could or could not do to the environment.
Sure.
The people that are involved in creating that textile, what does it do to them, their livelihoods, their water, their nature. So I think material and textile it's the thing that you start with, and it's the thing closest to your body.
Sure.
And I think from there, it's about respecting that textile and material. So how do you work with it? It's your approach. That respect is very important to me. So we don't make things quick. We really it can, like that garment, for example, the pants take 2.5 days to make, the jacket takes another 2.5 days. So
I'd like to expand on your use of plastic and your view around the use of plastic in fashion. I think the past World Environmental Earth Day, the theme was beat plastic pollution. So within the fashion industry, I think there is a responsibility to reach those goals. How do you see the use of plastic in the fashion industry?
So I'm actually not against plastic.
Okay.
I think plastic should be reimagined again as something that's very precious. I think it's become disposable. So if you go back to like when plastic originated, it had a very specific purpose. It was waterproof. You can see during COVID it was something that protected people. People wear it in hospitals. It has very specific qualities. And if we can again respect plastic also for those qualities, and you can treat it the same way you would treat a diamond or you would treat a piece of gold, you wouldn't make so much and you won't just dispose of it, throw it around like trash. So I think it has a very specific place, but it comes down to consuming. And
Sure.
I think because with factories and with everything that became so like quick, you know, plastic is one of those that somehow ended up being a very fast-made material. But the actual true intent of plastic when it was invented was really to protect natural resources. The idea was, okay, so we don't want to chop off all the trees and we don't want to use all these natural resources. What is an alternative?
Sure.
So the first intention of plastic was actually very positive, and then it got exploited through mass consumerism.
Well, Lezanne, we're going to have to leave the conversation there. It's been lovely chatting to you and getting into your journey and your mind a little bit tonight. Thank you for joining us and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.
My
and
absolute
Olga.
pleasure. Yes, Olga as well. Thank you so much, Olga. Well, that was fashion designer Lezanne Viviers talking to us about her journey in fashion, and she also showcased at South African Fashion Week that actually wraps up tonight.